He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. Maximum cringe. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There is a lot that is cringeworthy when it comes to this one's wife. This is because she has no emotional empathy and is unable to, in effect, read the room. Driven by her rampant sense of entitlement, the pulsating sense of belief that she's always right, she invariably engages in behaviours which are incongruous to the surroundings around her, which make her look cringeworthy. For instance, when she was in Nigeria, she turned up at a school wearing clothing that showed off a lot of skin, which was not only inappropriate for the fact that she was in a conservative country, where all of the other women covered up their arms and shoulders, but also the fact that she was attending a school where there were children. She's at it again in Colombia. More about that with regard to her inappropriate clothing in due course. She turns up in New York a number of years ago as the bouncing berry of Harlem, and she sits wearing expensive clothing and jewellery whilst reading to very bored children who live in poverty. Again, her narcissism prevents her from recognising that it's not a sensible thing to do when you're reading to people who are in poverty to wear lots of expensive clothing and jewellery. But she simply doesn't care, because she has no awareness of what she's doing. The instances where she has walked in front of Harry when he's been talking to people and she relegates him to a minor position. It's cringe-inducing, but she thinks that it's appropriate for her to behave that way. She doesn't realise how it looks, because her narcissism all the time is sat on her shoulder saying, get in first, be the first to be photographed, find that camera lens, fix that Richter's grin, smile, smile, smile. Thus, time and time again, she engages in cringeworthy behaviour as a consequence of the demands of her narcissism. For example, remember this? Earlier this year, when this one's wife went on another visit, without the children, with Harry in tow, to Whistler, as she took over the preparatory event for the Invictus Games, once again making it all about her. In this picture, Harry was shaking hands with somebody, and this one's wife couldn't wait to get in on the action. Rather than allow him to finish the handshake, she moved in for an unwanted hug, demonstrating her absence of boundary recognition, her sense of entitlement, her need to assert control over an individual through physical means, the absence of emotional empathy for both the recipient of the hug and also Harry. There she is, fixed grin in place, as she essentially interrupts a handshake mid-flow. Harry, looking down, doesn't seem to know where to put himself. Ashamed, embarrassed, cuckolded almost by his own wife once again, as where he's trying to shake hands with someone, that wounds her, because it's not about her, and her crass version of narcissism causes her to interrupt by diving in for the hug. She doesn't see anything wrong with what she's doing. Her narcissism tells her that this is the appropriate thing to do because she's a hugger. She's being friendly. But you can see from the look on Harry's face the impact it has upon her. And there might be those that would say, oh, it's just a one-off photograph, you're reading too much into it. No, one is not doing so. The fact is, this woman is a narcissist, which means that every single thing that she does when it comes to an interaction or potential interaction with another human being is always, repeat, always driven by her narcissism. And further proof, if proof were needed, is that she's at it again. Have a look at this. Have your toes started to involuntarily curl? Have you uttered a noise such as ooh? Have you crinkled your face in response to what you're seeing? Well, it would be understandable, because once again this one's wife demonstrates her maximum cringe. Harry is greeting the Vice President of Colombia. Ordinarily, It would be handshakes, but Harry's been turned into a hugger also by his wife, encouraging him to always go in for the hug to make them look like they're relatable. This is not something that Harry would ordinarily do. This is something that has been imposed upon him by his wife. Often it can be quite awkward. He's tall, and therefore many of the people that he meets are shorter than him, which makes it a little awkward when it comes to hugging them. But also, many people don't instinctively hug someone they've met for the first time. They would prefer a handshake. Nevertheless, this one's wife gets what she always wants and encourages him to hug. But here, as Harry attempts to hug the Vice President, guess who's in the way? Yes, this one's wife. As always, she can't get out of the way. She can't be standing to one side. She has to have herself at the heart of the action. And you have this weird scrum that's taking place, where Harry, with his right hand, is attempting to hug the Vice President, his head on her right shoulder, whilst his other arm can't get to go around the Vice President because his wife has stood in the way. And notice, as always, there it is, the hand that controls him, placed upon his back. What a ridiculous spectacle it is. It looks preposterous. The gentleman on the far left of the screen must be thinking, what on earth is going on here? What a load of bloody nonsense. The gentleman behind with the peaked cap must be thinking, thank goodness I'm being paid to witness this. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to be here and I'd wish the ground would open up and swallow me. But once again, this demonstrates the cringe-worthy status of this one's wife. It's driven, naturally, by her narcissism. She cannot even allow Harry and the Vice President to have a moment where she's not involved. Harry is greeting a person. That means this one's wife should stay out of it, but she can't help herself. She is physically proximate, which means Harry still has one hand on her. Indeed, he probably thinks that he's hugging the Vice President and thinks, goodness me, she's a wide woman, not realising that he's actually hugging two people. And of course, she has to put her hand on his back to maintain that control over him, to let him know that she is still there. That in effect, he is an extension of her, and she demonstrates this with this hand on the back. It's cringeworthy because she behaves like a toddler that can't let go of somebody else. And although she behaves like a mother to Harry, it's naturally the case that she also behaves like the toddler that always wants the attention, that can't be left alone. And here she demonstrates it again, getting in the way of an embrace between the Vice President and Prince Harry, whilst ensuring that she remains centre of matters in a way which has the rest of the world rolling its eyeballs and cringing at her. Maximum cringe, indeed. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.